It is time to turn you on. It is Coach K coming to you here from the Alps in Austria. I'm about to have with one of my favorite people in the world, Dominique. We're talking all about the power of being fully turned on. Did you see that? You got in right when I said fully turned on.
I love it.
Dominique is a master pleasure coach, also a registered nurse, Tantra coach. There's so many things. She inspires me. Her boldness, her pizzazz. She embodies everything so much. She oozes exactly what we're going to talk about today.
Thank you.
Being an adventure coach, I like to infuse a little bit of that in with adventure because you can combine the two of them. Being in the mountains is one of my highest sources of pleasure. Running in the mountains is a huge turn on for me. Can you imagine that?
I love it. And we all have different that turn us on and activate us. And so being aware of what things light us up is part of us staying lit and staying turned on, what we're passionate about.
I know you've been doing this a good part of your life. You have so much wisdom and experience. Why is that a source of our power, being turned on? And how the heck do we turn ourselves on?
Our sexual energy is our most powerful energy. It's our creative life force or chi energy. And we're literally created from sexual energy. So there should be no shame in such creation. That's what brought us into existence. Even if it was a test tube baby, the male ejaculated to be able to get the sperm specimen, there was an orgasm happening and sexual energy was being used for this process. It's literally what brought us into creation, into existence. So imagine if we used that same energy and tapped into that power of it to hit that reset button on our lives and started creating from that place, because it's also our creative energy. In Tantra, the energy centers of the chakras, the sacral chakra, which is kind of below near your navel, it is connected to the sexual energy, your sex organs, but also to your creativity, your creative energy. So the more you're able to channel that, you're able to even increase your creativity as well. That chakra is connected to the mouth and to the rectal area and to the sex organs. So what's interesting with that is if we're not stimulating that with self-pleasure or having intimacy and being orgasmic, then we will turn to food to stimulate that center. There's people that you'll see that will say, oh, this tastes better than sex. That's because they're not stimulating those centers and they're looking for the food as a way to stimulate. So you're going to stimulate through the mouth, or you're going to stimulate through using your sex organs to activate that center. But so many of us repress it or turn it off and repress that energy because it can feel unsafe. There's so much shame that we get messages, even our subconscious through childhood. And so we cannot feel safe to express this energy. And even for women, sometimes we don't feel safe moving in the world because we will get unwanted attention from men or be victims of certain crimes around that. And then people will be like, oh, what were you wearing? What were you doing? What was your behavior? So we end up having to defend ourselves as a victim. And it's just, oh, okay, I just have to shut down and be this good girl, the good girl image, and not really be in my full expression of power. And even if men, if they're uncomfortable with their sexual energy, their sexuality, or they've seen men that are acting out and being very statistical, some men will really repress that energy as well, or they'll overuse it and leak it out through being addicted to adult videos, through ejaculating, they're draining their sexual energy and their power. So it is our power. So can you tap into it? And do you know how to move it through your body for your empowerment? And do you know how to focus on what you're passionate about in life? Because when we talk about, oh, this is my passion, it's also like those inner fires that ignite the passion inside. So it's all connected. Everything touches everything.
Thank you for saying all that. There's a reason why I have you on here, because even in my 52 years on this earth, just I would say in the last 2 years is where I've really dove into this. Having you as a coach was what ignited it, but also getting into some Mama Gina stuff and everything else. And it was a missing piece that I didn't really know was missing.
I hear that a lot.
Yeah. It's something that's almost indescribable. You're describing it, but once you tap into that turn on that you're describing, and not just in the sex way, but for ourselves and through self-love and self-pleasure, what I discovered, the confidence is there. Like you said, the creativity, even if it's just for moments, there's that knowing. It's sometimes it feels like an altered state, a little bit.
Yeah, most definitely.
And then you want to come back in there. So I can understand if we're not visiting that energy, the desire for food, being drawn for, and when we are tapping into our turn on, then the cravings just go by the wayside.
Anyone who's read the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, published in the 1930s, he dedicated a whole chapter to the mystery of sex, talking about sexual transmutation. Even now, I had my Yes Tantra page shut down last month. I had 30,000 followers. But even now, talking about sex positive information, anything about sexuality is frowned upon, and a lot of people can be really uptight about it. So you can imagine him publishing this book almost 100 years ago was pretty bold, but he couldn't go into all the nuances of it. He just talked about it a little bit loosely, and how this is how the most successful men knew how to master this energy and know how to connect to it. And it's even, a lot of people believe that Nikola Tesla, who spent time in India, which Tantra practices, and Einstein, all of them that understood energy, our sexual energy, our turn on is our energy. It's our life force energy. So do we know how to channel that and activate that and increase it and really use it for our own empowerment and for our own pleasure? How often do we just turn ourselves on to be performative or to get approval from someone else, or because that's what they want? Often we won't tune into what our desires are, and we'll push that away for ourselves. If we're not showing up for a lover, or we're not doing this for someone else's approval, then we can just ignore those aspects of ourselves if we're alone or single. But you're your longest lasting relationship, for your first breath to your last. Be your own best lover. You'll attract better lovers that way. Become a better lover.
Be your own best lover. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. I don't understand. I see that you're knocked off Instagram. What is that about? Is it this shame around it? It shows how we've been brought up as a taboo thing. And you had mentioned before how people are brought up from their parents. They carry that into their own adulthood. And those people shutting things down are reacting to that programming in them.
Exactly. If we are empowered and we're in our most powerful state, you spoke about feeling like you're in an altered state. So you really get to tap into how amazing you are as a being. You start to be less worried about having the material wealth or all those things when you discover the treasures and the wealth and the richness within yourself. But our society and governments, they count on us being consumers. They count on us not showing up brightly. It's easier to control people that are not self-actualized or empowered. And so when there's people trying to raise awareness and speaking truth into people and trying to guide them, those voices are trying to be shut down and repressed. It's easy for so many people to access things like Pornhub. It's so easy. It's easy for teenage boys to access that. And that's okay, but it's actually because it's really stealing their own power away. And more younger males are having erectile dysfunction because they're watching porn. And then they just get lost in the fantasy of like video games and watching adult videos. And it's great if someone wants to be a consumer, go to work, pay their bills, pay taxes, and then just go plug into a device and don't cause any trouble or make any waves. And you're limiting your power and how you show up in your radiance in the world. So it's about lighting your fire. And whenever you are fully turned on and you embrace that and you don't have shame about it, and you allow it to imbue and fill yourself, you become this force and you show up the world, and the world becomes your oyster. Things start to magnetize towards you because we are like magnets, and based on our energy, sometimes you'll see magnets and they really pull together and sometimes they're repelling. So knowing how to balance our energy is going to impact, is the world being drawn to us, or are the things we're wanting being repelled from us? What energy are we emitting? Because we're all energetic beings. All of our cells are energy, and we're just a cluster of these energetic cells. So sex, it's your sexual energy and how you know how to master it through your breath, through how you move.
Also, you're talking about sexual energy. It's also what I've experienced, flirting with life.
Ooh, I love that.
Just tapping into that energy, even being at the grocery store the other day and just checking out just the few things that I bought. The guy who was maybe about 21, 22. I was in a good space buying my groceries. And then we just connected and we just both lit up. It was like this connection, and then had this deep connection, and then off we went. And then just that short connection that lasted 30 seconds, 45 seconds, lit me up for the next few hours. And that's what I experienced. That's all it needs to be. Little moments of that where it's like connection. I experience that because in the moment I feel connected to myself and moving and grooving. That's just a little example of what I have fun doing, like those little things in the day, and how you get pleasure from eye contact at a grocery store.
I love that. And that's intimacy. Intimacy, you're having eye contact, eye gazing.
Yeah.
So many people can be in the bedroom together and lights off and they aren't able to make eye contact. They can take their clothes off and be naked in front of one another, but they're not able to have intimacy because they don't want to drop that mask or the illusion or to truly be seen. And that fear of truly being seen can come from a childhood wound as well. I'm a recovering perfectionist. So perfectionism comes from a lot of times our parents. To feel loved or to feel safe, we always had to be perfect to get the attention, the love that we wanted. So then we try to be performative in the bedroom, or we're trying to be perfect at something because we're trying to show that we're worthy and we don't want to be rejected. We desire to be loved. That can be in our subconscious popping forward and having us not being willing to be vulnerable or willing to be fully seen. But when we shut off, we're disconnecting. And what you're talking about the store too, Karrie, I love what you shared is you had this connection. But see, whenever we're tuned into devices, like I'm saying, like if we're addicted to video games or adult videos, that's disconnection. But the more we're disconnected from the world around us, when we don't have community, when we don't come together and take a stand together and be supportive of one another, then we're not able to create changes in our lives or in the world. But when we can have that connection, that's everything. So first connecting within ourselves, more passion we can have within, which is what you've been doing this last 2 years, the more you're able to connect outwardly in the world and then use that and channel it and just tap into it. And it's really powerful. It's really beautiful.
So you just kicked off what I was going to ask you next. If someone is not feeling that, they're not feeling the turn on and they can't figure it out, and they're having the sex, or they may be self-pleasuring and doing all the things, what is the first step to find that type of turn on? What can someone do when they're at that level of disconnection? From what you've seen and everything you've done, maybe there's a lot of trauma. What's the next step to move in that direction?
Trauma definitely does play a role in it. And last year I became a trauma-informed master coach. And a lot of times what can keep us from feeling turned on is that we have repressed emotions that we're not letting out. Most of us recycle emotions. We don't have tools or ways to release them, because like a child is able to have a tantrum and they're able to let that out. But as adults, we're learned to suck it up. Someone can piss us off, or we can be angry, and then we just put on a face and act like everything's okay. I even notice in a fight or flight being tested on my nervous system, I can be like the appeaser, where it can be a shitstorm around me, but I can just be smiling and going along. That comes for me from my childhood, but also being a nurse in critical care. I could code a patient one moment and then, or my patient dies, and the next moment I'm going into another patient's room and I'm smiling like everything is okay. Being in environments like that and trying to hold it in. But what we're doing is we're having these emotions and they're recycling, and then they're just stacking, and disease is just ease. A lot of diseases are just trapped emotions in our bodies that are trying to express and say, hey, pay attention to me and let this out. So we need to be able to have our own tantrum and let it out, or do emotional release writing and let it out. If we have a lot of anger or sadness that's stuck within us, then we cannot feel turned on. When I've done practices like an anger burn, or where you live, if there's like a smash room or one of the anger rooms where you can go and break stuff and yell and let it out.
Primal scream.
A primal yell is so amazing. Whenever you do that, you can notice that you can feel more of your turn on. And sometimes we will, if we're really sad, we'll go to the emotion of anger because anger actually feels powerful. We actually can motivate ourselves through anger. Whenever we let that anger out, then sometimes I can feel like, wow, I feel turned on now. So understanding that, like what emotions or stuck emotions or fears are really keeping you to where you're not feeling turned on because you're just overwhelmed with these really heavy emotions. So working those out can really help so much. Breath work is really great too. And just letting go of the sexual shame, because we can feel shame about having pleasure in our bodies. But if anyone deserves to enjoy your body, it's you. There's so much shame as we're growing up around self-pleasuring that no one wants to talk about that they do that. And that's not true. And don't have shame about it. And a lot of people really do have shame about that based on religion, based on the conditioning and the programming of society or their peers. So I have a really great masterclass replay that you can find out through my link on my page or my website, yestantra.com, about how to heal from sexual shame, because so many people have experienced this. Letting go of that and being able to feel the pleasure within. So just taking your time, feeling your body. Can you give yourself a massage? See what your love languages are. Is your love language physical touch? Gift giving, what can you do for yourself as a self-loving thing within your love languages? And then just taking your time and being slow. Give yourself foreplay. A lot of times, because we know our bodies, we know how to get from point A to point B really fast. We can just go in and do what we need to do. Are we giving ourselves consent? Are we giving ourselves foreplay? Doing sensual dancing and massaging ourselves, using some oils, having a nice bath beforehand, and then taking the time with ourselves. Because if a lover was to take such little time with us, we could be offended and be like, what are you doing? But that's what our inner self is like, why are you rushing me through this? So just taking the time and breathing, breathe deeply from your sex organs all the way to the top of your head, and imagine that that breath is carrying the pleasure that you're feeling and expanding it through your body. It's so powerful. So those are some of the ways to begin. Just know pleasure is your birthright. You're literally wired to experience immense pleasure.
Dominique, amen to that. So even if someone just begins self-pleasure, even if it feels a little weird or uncomfortable, just doing that, could that be an outlet to release some of what's in there? That we have to go in there and find all the problems first, and then we can pleasure. It's like we can start pleasuring today, even if we don't have all the parts figured out. They will figure themselves as they release. Breath, movement, like you were saying.
Dancing helps you release a lot of emotions too. So moving that energy around. And just dance for fun for 1 or 2 songs a day at least, and just see how you start to move that energy and you start to feel and connect with our body, because we're so disconnected in our modern world from our body. So whatever you can do to connect and drop in, we operate from the neck up. We've been taught how to be robots. We've been taught, like, what is your IQ? What is your profession? What were your SAT scores, et cetera, et cetera. When we were growing up, what are your grades? What do you want to be when you grow up? And then when you are grown up, what do you do? Everything is like, just how are you thinking? And we're so disconnected from how we're feeling emotion wise and sensation wise. So what I love about Tantra is it helps you use your 5 senses to really drop into the body and start to experience pleasure through all of your 5 senses. When you're pleasuring, can you light some incense or a non-toxic scented candle that would stimulate your senses? The scent of cinnamon can be really great as well. And then can you just feel like with your fingertips, or put oils on, and the sense of touch? Can you use a feather? What things can you do? Also playing with your nipples and stimulate yourself and get yourself turned on. And that also helps with your heart center, which is your heart chakra, with your nipples in your chest, like massaging across there, and then breathing and putting your shoulders back and breathing into that space and letting that open. Because in our worlds, we're just so hunched over our devices, and we're contracted. How can you be expanded? So open yourself up physically in your body and open yourself up to pleasure, because pleasure is medicine. It's deeply healing. So just allow yourself and make time. Schedule it in your day. We put all these things on the to-do list, and we put ourselves the very last. So prioritize yourself and see how your days start to change and how your life starts to change.
Pleasure is medicine.
Yeah.
Did you get that, everybody? Pleasure is medicine. You can't say that enough. Yes, as you're describing, like these scents, and the oils and just finding what's good. And it can just be touching. And if I write after I'm in a space like that, if I take my pen, hang out with my dog, and write from that space, it's just, there's like this knowing on the page.
Connect to your intuition too, when you connect to your pleasure and your sexual energy.
And it's fun. And there's not second guessing or comparison. It's like a goal that only you get to play with.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it. And so you can do it today. So anyone that feels far from what we're talking about, they can begin today by just starting the pleasure. Yeah, I think most people would say booking it in. How can I book in like a pleasure session? But I think actually booking it in is the act of self-love.
It definitely is. Self-pleasure is self-love.
Can you go in just a tad more on the trauma piece and healing from that and how Tantra is linked?
Yes, I'd love to share. The three main tenets of Tantra are breath, sound, and movement. This is ancient wisdom from over 5,000 years ago. When I was getting my master coach certification in Elementum, one of the things when we were going over the modules for trauma was how the three things that support healing trauma are breath, sound, and movement. And then it clicked for me. I was like, oh, no wonder I started healing from my childhood wounds and my past traumas with Tantra a decade ago, because I was doing the breath work and the sounding, and I was connecting with the energy of my body, and it was allowing me to have this healing. Another surprising statistic that I learned in that program is that over 95% of adults receive inadequate parenting. So that means most often in relationships, when we're like, oh, relationships can be so dysfunctional, or the dating pool is not so desirable, it's because so many of us enter the dating space and we have wounds from our childhood, and we're just bringing those wounds into the relationship with us and operating from what our young child needs. And we're usually on a subconscious level, we're attracted to someone and we're choosing a partner that is similar to the parent that wounded us the most, because we're wanting to have a healing. So it's only like we want to have a reenactment and our subconscious, like I can get someone that has these similar traits, and if they love and accept me the way I always wanted my parent to, then I feel like I was good enough and worthy, that it wasn't me, it was like my parent, because I'm worthy. So let me see if someone else with that same flavor, if they could treat me differently, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting a different outcome. Same thing when we're repeating patterns in our dating and our relationships. It's really important that we're self-aware about what those wounds are and able to even share with our partner what our wounds are, and let them be aware to help heal it together. Hey, this is something that can be activating or triggering for me because it can remain this experience as a child. So can you be more mindful around this? And if we communicate, because our partners are not mind readers, they're not psychic, so they're not going to be aware. There was times that when I was in a relationship, I would be so upset and it would be disproportionate towards what was happening. I didn't realize at the time that why I was that angry and hurt was really because something in my childhood was activated, not even in that current moment. So then my partner would be super confused, like what is really even happening? In relationship, we're actually in relationship. We think we're in relationship with this partner. Oh, they're this sign and I'm that sign, or we have these same interests, or I'm really attracted to the physical things about them, or etc. But we're actually in relationship with that person's nervous system. And so are they able to regulate their own nervous systems? And when we're together, do we know how to co-regulate one another's nervous systems? Because when we don't, and there's a challenge or something happens, because relationships are not easy and life just continues to happen, it's easy in the honeymoon period, it's easy on the good days to have a good relationship. But when life just lives and throws challenges your way, how do you behave? Do you react, or do you know how to respond? And our ability to respond is our responsibility. I'll say it again. Our ability to respond is our responsibility. Can we respond to what's present, or are we going to react and go into old patterns? When we are able to regulate our nervous systems, because when we're dysregulated, our brain is going into Frankenstein brain. and we cannot think logically. Everything is a danger, and we can act out in ways and be very defensive and aggressive. But when we know how to regulate our nervous systems and pause and take some deep breaths and do certain things, then we can start to regulate our nervous system, and we can respond and turn on our Einstein brain, which is where logic comes in and reasoning, and then we can find solutions and continue to perpetuate problems and unhealthy cycles. There's so many nervous system regulation techniques I've been learning, and so many of them are tantric techniques that I've known. One of them is, there's a divine masculine in Tantra called Shiva. There's a thing called the Shiva shake. You just shake your arms, your legs, you can stand up, shake your booty, shake your feet, and you're shaking. If you look on the Nature Channel, whenever there's like a gazelle and it's about to be eaten by a tiger, if it escapes, when it runs off, you'll see it shaking its body. Or if you notice your dog, if there's another dog that comes in, it thinks it's going to have to attack and it gets excited, when the threat leaves, you'll see your dog shake its body. We're discharging that energy, because emotions are just energy in motion. So they're discharging the emotion of fear and letting it out of the circuitry of their body and shaking it off. But as humans, we don't do that, because if every time we were stressed out, we were walking around in society and just shaking around, everyone would look at us like we were nuts. So we can be super stressed out and activated, and we just hold it in. But even if you're on a Zoom call or you're with someone and something has happened and you're really stressed, you can even off camera have your hand and be shaking it a little bit down to your side, like I'm shaking, and someone wouldn't really notice that. And you shake and discharge. If you're driving and you have almost a fender bender, you can just shake your hands and let that out and take some deep breaths. And even sighing, 3 minutes of Tantra, breath, sound, and movement. Sound is like a thief, and it steals attention from your body. Even a sigh, let it out, takes away the tension. That's why moaning during sex is really good, because you're releasing tension.
It's also great during sport. It's also great. It's like that, letting out the tension. I love what you said about the Shiva shake, because when you said if someone's stressed, you see a lot, the foot tapping.
It's a lot of stress and anxiety. So you could even go into a bathroom or a bathroom stall and just shake your body off, and like just imagine like letting it go and taking a nice centering breath, and then go back out into the world with what you need to do. But when we keep storing the stress, because we'll take in the anger, we'll be upset. One of my coaches is Christine Hassler, and one of the things that she says, whenever you're stressed or angry or have an emotion, notice the emotion. And if you're in a moment like you're about to get up and speak, or you're at work, or it's not a time to dive into the emotion, say to yourself, hey, anger, name it in your mind. Fear, sadness, I see you, and I'm going to spend time with you later, either tonight or this weekend. And then do an emotional release writing, where you write it out. And I share with my clients these emotional release writing prompts, and you write just like chicken scratch. It needs to be pen to paper, because it makes more brain motor neuron connections. And then you just tear it up. It's not to be read again, and you're like releasing it.
You do that later.
Go. You can do it in the moment if time permits, but I'm saying a lot of times we're about to be in a meeting, or about to be on a call, or something is happening. But what we'll often do is we just repress it and we suck it up and we keep going. But we get taught that as children. Big girls don't cry. If you're going to cry, I'll give you something to cry about. You hold it in. How much are we holding in?
This is huge. What you're saying about Tantra and the movement and the breath and the sound, it's massive. Because when I think back to the days where I just held everything in, or not just me, just visiting with clients, it's the identification with the emotion that's what kept me stuck. Is if I'm feeling fear, I am the fear. I didn't see it as an energy moving through, because there was a story around it. There is the pictures of, oh, I should be fearful because this happened before, or this could happen again. Those things I noticed, I now know from different work I've done, kept me where I was. I didn't really know, didn't matter how much personal development, Tony Robbins, even though Tony Robbins does a lot of movement stuff, but I didn't really go into the depth of what that really means, the breath, really being able to let go of attachment to the emotions, because emotions used to scare me. I'm like, oh, there's that anxiety again. Here it comes. I got to do everything I can to have it not land on me.
You got to run from it, which is probably why you get it running.
Yeah. Now it's, hey, on over here for a super strong espresso. We're going to have a chat. Well, there's a lot of primal release. Go in the car and I let her rip. That works well for me, like you said. And so this is big stuff. We're talking about it generally, but it's actually massive stuff. And I think if everybody just did this in some form, one of those three things, when you feel the emotion and get curious about the emotion, like you're saying, when you react to your partner, when you're reacting triggered by something. When I'm triggered by something, I really try to get curious about it. Aha, that's interesting. I wonder what that triggered. I wonder what's in them. And I don't catch it every time. Sometimes I go on a tangent for a little bit, but just even these three things that you're saying and the release is massive. And the release of the trauma, that you can move things so that fast and turn on.
That way you get into the turn on, because you're not overwhelming and dimming your light with all of the stress. And whenever you do yell in the car, another thing that's important is then later to roll down the windows, because you're in that energy. So you want to let the energy out to circulate. You don't want to sit in the stress. Even when you're taking a tub bath, before you take your tub bath, you want to take a shower first and wash away the stresses of the day down the drain, and then draw your bath water, so you're not soaking in a tub of your stress from the day or from the stress that you take on and the energy from people around you is really important. Like, we don't have to identify with the emotions. You are not fear. It is just an emotion. It's just an energy. And can you just be with it and see what is it trying to show you? And even other people, if they're triggering us, we're reacting to something. That's me too. Be curious about it. Okay, when do I also do this? Because we're all human and we're also connected. A lot of times when someone is really upsetting me, it's like, how have I shown up like this in my life? When we can be super judgmental of other people. Okay, how do I do this? That's the stinger, because we don't want to think that we're like that. We want to be like, oh, they're like that, and we put ourselves above that. But no, we're all so much the same. One of the things that helped me, I used to be very judgy and I could condemn people for their bad behavior. And then I realized that people's behavior is a reflection of them, and my response to their behavior is a reflection on me. I cannot control other people. I can only control myself. I can only control my response. Again, my ability to respond is my responsibility. So that was a game changer for me. And I learned that a decade ago when I just began my journey with Tantra.
Everything to do with how they react, everything to do with them. And it's how I respond.
How am I responding that moment?
And it's funny because I just had a blow up just with my partner. Like, I was angry and I was able to watch myself. Ooh, in the past, I probably would have kept that in, stuffed it, but it really went out and I feel the release of it. And there wasn't any hurtful things, but now I can calmly look at it and be curious on where that came from. He may not be liking it right now, but you know, I used to be someone that used to just go off, or I would feel it and I'd get in the car and drive off. Here, I'm fully feeling it. I'm releasing it. I'm saying what I'm upset about. Like you said about a kid that has a tantrum, I had a little tantrum and I'm okay with it. For a moment after, I felt a bit guilty, but now there's like a clear thinking because I released it. I released it to someone who I will talk to after, but I'm curious on what that is. And I'm starting to feel turned on.
Because you're letting that emotion out. Or turn on whenever we're feeling disconnected, or work with a lot of clients that feel numb. It's how are you disconnected in your body?